What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. The Formula One racing season is going strong, and next up is the race in Monaco. So now is the time to get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can place their first bet of $5 or more, and if your bet loses, you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you can experience the thrills of racing on the DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports app. Go full throttle till the checkered flag drops and compete for your share in over $100,000 in prizes. Draft your lineup of 5 drivers and 1 constructor to rack up points for top finishes, laps led, and more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So don't miss out on all the action this week at DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code TIRE at sign-up. New customers can place their first bet of $5 or more on the race, and if your bet loses, you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's code TIRE at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Also brought to you today by SoFi. You know, with all of the investment jargon flying around, it can be really hard to figure out how to start investing. I should know because I am terrible at it. And the whole thing is made worse by the fact that the people who do know exactly what to do use big fancy words to make themselves sound smarter. They don't try to bring that down to your level for the beginner. So you can use basic words and basic steps to get your money working for you. And getting it right is easier now with SoFi, the first investing platform to offer stocks, ETFs, automated investing, and cryptocurrency too, all in one app. Zach and I both did it. It was very easy. It just took a few minutes. I had to share some personal information and some disclosures. And then I was investing. I actually used SoFi to dabble a little bit in crypto. It's the only thing I use it for. I was just like, well, if I have to try this thing, I might as well try it for the thing I don't invest in yet. I have financial planners that help me with the traditional stuff, and they try to teach me about it every time, and I don't learn anything. I'm just like, you do it. So with this one, I did get some crypto, and it was easy. It just took a few minutes. So whether you're eager to get started with investing or you already know the ropes and want to diversify, SoFi's got your back. There's no commissions on trading stocks and EFTs. There's no account fees. There's no hidden fees. You can use fractional shares that start as low as $5 to buy brand name stocks, even if you're not sitting on a few grand. There's complimentary financial planners ready to help with questions, whether you're stuck or need help deciding what to do next. You can save for retirement with traditional Roth and SEP IRAs. Man, there's so much to do. You can let SoFi's #1 automated investing tool, or robo-advisor, take the stress out of managing a diversified portfolio. You can set goals, you can auto-rebalance quarterly with the no management fees, and you can, like I said, get into the world of crypto alongside the rest of your investments. So, cut through the jargon and make investing easier with SoFi. Go to SoFi.com/tire, SoFi.com/tire, and learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's SoFi.com/tire. Brokerage and active investing products offered through SoFi Securities, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Right. How about home body work? Are you a professional? Some of you might be professional. I'm guessing most of you are not professionals. And we give a lot of professional advice on this show, some much more professional than others. But if you want your auto body work to look professional, you better use what the professionals use. Evercoat is the #1 brand preferred by professionals. Evercoat Body Shop products are easy to use whether you're a professional or DIYer. They have a variety of products. One right for your project. It works great on steel, fiberglass, and other substrates. There's just 3 easy steps prep, fill, and sand. Their perfect mix guide makes it easy to get the right ratio of filler and cream hardener. It dries in about 15 minutes. It sands up to 50% faster than the competition, giving you a flawless finish. Evercoat Body Shop takes the guesswork out of bodywork, so ask for it by name at Advance Auto Parts stores. And thanks to Evercoat Body Shop for sponsoring today's show. Last but certainly not least, we're brought to you by Masterworks. As I was saying earlier, actually for you guys it'll be later because I said it in the show. Zach and I now own part of a Banksy. And look, my dream car is a McLaren F1, but owning one is obviously just a dream. This thing is going to be worth $20 million forever. So it is insane to think about billionaires who have like 10 of them just sitting in a garage somewhere using them as a store of wealth and an investment. And because they're minting new billionaires more often than ever, but these things stay super rare, it's the law of supply and demand. Well, I'll probably never own a McLaren F1. I can now get into something even more desirable, something that's more than doubled in value consistently for the last 25 years. It's fueled by supply and demand and the dollars of the super rich. And we are talking about blue chip artwork. Zach and I now own 25 shares of a Banksy painting. And it was easy. It took a few minutes to sign up. It just was make an account, link my credit card. Just visit masterworks.art/TST. Use promo code TIRE to learn how Masterworks is changing the game, giving its 400,000 plus members unprecedented access and lowering costs to 1,000th of what billionaires are paying. Go to masterworks.art/TST or use promo code TIRE to ensure you priority access to their platform. See the important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.io/CD. Very easy, very quick, and very streamlined. That's it. We own that one right there, the agency job. We own 25 shares of that, Zach. You can invest now, masterworks.art/TST. Use code TIRE. All right, on this episode of the podcast, we've got my new friends, Nick and Giles English, the founders and owners, presidents of Bremont Watch Company. These guys have a really interesting story. Making watches is a very difficult business to start from nothing to where they're at now, 20 years later after starting the company with a whole big factory and doing in-house movement manufacturing. It's quite interesting. We learn about their history in aerobatic aviation, the connection to Jaguar sports cars, the connection to Williams Formula One, and the hardest parts about making watches straight from the horse's mouth. Nick and Giles English, the brothers behind Bremont Watches, are on the Smoking Tire podcast. Yeah, it's almost like it's real radio,
exactly.
Right? It's a real studio,
yeah.
Kind of take it seriously.
I'm loving this setup you've got on the cameras and
the iPhones. It's so slick.
It's genius.
It's
really good.
iPhones are actually very good for this exact thing.
I had
it works
no idea.
really, really well. Now you guys can copy it and build a studio at the wing.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, and you're going to come in next
Watch
time.
podcasts are so in right now. Everybody's got one.
I know, but
we can't really do it though because it's sort of it's just Bremont.
And then there's another good watch, this one.
Yeah, right.
Actually, but we've got a lot of good ambassadors. So
yeah, you do. You guys have
people.
interesting investors. Yeah.
So
where did the name Bremont come from?
Are we live now?
Yes, you're on the record.
Are we? Right. Okay, cool. Where did it come from? So when we started the company, we didn't want to buy a brand. So we didn't want to go off and, there's incredible history and array of people who've gone out and bought brands and traded another piece of history.
Longa or like stuff like that.
And
or
a lot of companies that were dormant for many, many years and they've rebought them. And Giles and I
That's the Bugatti move.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's a huge number of cars. I could go through a number now. But what we wanted, we said, look, actually, we want it to have its own history. We want it to be able to take the route it wants. But our surname, a lot of watch companies use the founder's surname, is English.
Which
doesn't really work.
Well, it's weird.
It is weird.
I don't know a lot of like Dave Americas.
This is it.
Captain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is Captain America, but we just so the irony would have been lost on a lot of people. A British watchman called English. So long story short, we flying's a big part of our lives, and we were. I mean, there's a whole history about various reasons we're sort of doing this trip, but we went on this trip flying this old airplane, 1940s airplane down through France. Did a precautionary landing in this field, and because we ran out of fuel, it was really bad weather.
Really?
Is that precautionary or necessary?
Precautionary? That word's
but
doing a lot of heavy lifting.
You said we're live, so I was trying to say.
It was the most. And the problem is, if you land in France in a non-licensed airfield, it's unlike America or the UK where you just take the farmer for a bottle of whiskey and give him a bottle of whiskey and all's fine.
Is that how it works in America?
Yeah.
Okay.
UK we tried it a few times, but in France they make you strip the wings off, ship it to an airfield.
Oh, no way!
Airfield. So it's a nightmare.
You can't just pour some gas in and fire it back up and take back off.
So that's what we tried to do.
So whilst Giles was hitchhiking with a rather attractive French lady, or girl, as I say, for some fuel, I was left in the field, and this chap, this old guy, was sort of walking over to us, and I thought, oh my gosh, what's this going to be? Anyway, he was a chap who ended up helping us out. Incredible guy in his late 70s, had a workshop like our father's. Our father had passed away a few years beforehand, and we sort of became good mates, didn't we? And he had a passion.
Good mates. He said, "Look, stay with us for a couple of days till the weather gets better." And it was shocking, low mist around the area where we were in. And it finally cleared up, and we took off and left. And our dad died when he was 49. This guy was in late 70s. Reminds us of his dad, and his name was Antoine Bremont.
Oh.
Nice. And we thought Bremont, that could work on the watch. It'd be quite a nice name, and it has some meaning to us. And we called him up and said, look, we're not associating this with you in any way, shape or form, but we like the name Bremont. Do you mind if we use it? And he went, oh, crazy Englishman. And but that's where the name originally came from.
Is he still around?
No, he died not long after.
Oh, really?
But we never really had any connection with him.
Send him some watches or anything?
No. He knew we were getting into it, but sadly.
That's a great story. It's too bad he wasn't around to.
I know, because we could have got him on this podcast.
You could have.
Yeah, but then his family put a claim royalty rights.
Right, I know. Yeah. What type of aircraft was that you had a precautionary landing in?
It's a Booker Jungmann, which is an old German biplane.
Oh wow!
It's a 1930s thing.
And you guys just fly this stuff for fun?
Yeah, and I mean, our background was, our dad was, actually, our father and us two were both sponsored through university by the Air Force, and did a lot of flying as we grew up. And, he restored airplanes with our father, cars, clocks, motorbikes, everything with our father.
Wow.
But flying is a big part of our lives. So he grew up doing a lot of air show flying. And when we weren't flying at the university, we were flying and doing air shows ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Flying with airplanes. So airplanes were...
Did you do like acrobatic stuff? Or
Aerobatics.
Aerobatics.
Nick's very good at handstands. Exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah. One-handed. Yeah. No. So we did do some and formation flying and things. So,
fun.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Oh, it was a sort of it was a brilliant time in our lives, and because we'd been trained by the RAF and flying with Dad, doing all this air show, and it all sort of World War II type stuff. And then that's
like one of the most dangerous things you can do is like fly vintage planes, right? It's like that's a pretty dangerous activity, isn't it?
Between us, you've had a few broken bones.
It was, and getting to that point, and 1995. So Dad and Nick were practicing for an air display, and it all went horribly wrong. They were doing formation aerobatics in a T6 Texan, which is an American plane, and they went out of control and crashed, and Dad died instantly.
That's how he died?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. I did not know this story. That is crazy. I'm sorry. That's wild.
And Nick broke 30-odd bones in intensive
30?
care.
Yeah, I was a bit mashed up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So
that's brutal.
It's quite brutal.
Wow, that's wild.
But, I think most people in life you talk to have gone through some form of trauma and some form, and I think this was our sort of tipping point in our lives that, we were living a very different life beforehand, and suddenly this made us decide, actually, let's go off and do something we really want to do, as I'm sure, many of your listeners have as well. So,
or myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily a trauma.
No, but it was trauma in a broad definition.
Yeah. That's crazy. So why watches?
Why watches? Because, we've always been passionate. He collected them. He loved them. He'd restore clocks, and we sort of grew up tinkering with clocks in the workshop and talking about his old watch collection, and also this incredible history that was British watchmaking.
Yeah.
So everyone always thinks Swiss made, and this is all watches and clocks come from Switzerland, which, to be fair, they have done for the last 60 years.
And predominantly, they still do. Although
they still do now, without doubt. They're the best at it. But if you go back, 100, 150 years, we were making over half the world's watches and clocks in the UK.
Americans were as well.
American
interesting
America as well.
Waltham were
American
making
brands.
Yeah, huge numbers. And what happened, and obviously the world sets its time by Greenwich Mean Time. Rolex was founded in London. There's a great bit of history there. But as soon as when you come to Henley-on-Thames, we're going to get you to England at some point. You will see these big machines we're machining to about 3 or 4 microns, really.
I've seen this stuff at work. It's wild.
It's wild.
To see a giant machine make a tiny thing.
When a human hair is like
it's like
50 to 60 microns. I mean, it is nuts. It's nuts.
But if you can do that, you can build anything in metal.
Yeah.
And what happened was you had Boer War, First World War, Second World War. You were the British, the Americans, the Germans had to support this war effort. And you had the Swiss as a neutral country. So if you're a British
they were just
watchmaker,
eating cheese and chilling.
Chilling and selling watches to everyone.
To everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whereas the British watchmakers had to go and build guns, planes, engines, etc., and the other countries. So really, the British never recovered from that. So Smiths, which is known for its Cardars and the rest of it, but they were the last big British watch company, died out in the late 60s. So we were really aware of this amazing history. And going back to Mudge, Tompion, Harrison, Breguet spent a lot of his life in London. So there's a wonderful history, but it all gone.
Yeah.
And apart from a few...
What's just left is like Roger W. Smith and like Isle of Man, like
it's
little
it's quite
like a hobbit
artisanal.
hut, basically.
It is a bit, but it's artisanal watchmaking.
Yeah,
and what we're trying to do, what we are doing, is we're making watches in obviously much greater numbers, and it's repeatability. So anyone can machine a part once.
Yeah.
It's can you do it 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 times, and each part be identical.
So starting from zero.
Yeah.
This is what, late 90s? Is that early 2000s? What year was your first watch?
2002 is when we started the company. 2007 was when we first launched.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Took a long time.
So that's a while. I mean, it's a long time.
Wives weren't so happy. Yeah.
Roughly how long it took me to build this.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
It takes nothing happens overnight, does it?
To do something well.
There you go.
But
it's worth it when you have a look around. It's worth having.
Yeah, but like, so what was the what was the point where you went, oh, I didn't realize this was going to be this difficult?
It was about 3 years into it, and we'd told our wives it'd be a couple of years we'd do it. And we were running out of money at that point because we were putting all our own money into it. But we sort of, and that's the point, it gets very sticky. You're thinking, it's got to be right. There's no point launching this.
Your wife's pregnant.
Your wife's, another baby coming out. And that you really have to dig deep. But we knew we were onto something. We knew the people who were showing the watches were loving it. They were saying, look, I don't know, Nick and Giles don't know who you are. We don't know. We've never heard of Bremont before, but actually, it's what you're making is lovely. So we knew we were onto something, but that point, and there's another couple of years after that before we actually managed to launch. It took a long time.
It seems like a very hard business. I mean, just from what I know as a fan and as an outsider, as a customer, it's like the number of new like micro, and this is today, but the number of micro brands I see where I go, that one's definitely not gonna make it. But 15 years ago, it really seemed so dumb. There wasn't like these blogs and Instagrams and stuff that appreciated the newer, smaller brands, was there? So you had to go straight at the mainstream, right?
Well, I think also there's a big difference between, and I think you can compare it to the car industry. There's quite a few similarities. If you're building a kit car and you're taking an engine from something, another chassis from something, sort of resto mod type thing, it's very different from saying, right, we're starting from scratch. we're going to build the chassis from scratch. The engine's going to be built from scratch, brand new. We're not taking a BMW engine. We're not taking a Ford engine. This engine, nobody's ever seen this before. This is good. That's making a new watch brand, and that's what's so incredibly difficult. Which is why so few watch brands do it, and so few car companies do the equivalent in the automotive. So you'll have, as you say, these small, I suppose these. Almost sort of Kickstarter brands making, which are great, they're passion projects.
Sure.
But they'll be using bits which are more readily available. I think that's the
when
point.
you guys started, weren't you using movements from somebody, from a
No,
manufacturer?
we did. We started like that, and then we got into, then assembling them all. Then we got into case manufacture. Then we got into movement manufacture. So it's taken 20 years.
So you did do it somewhat incrementally.
Oh, yeah, no,
as
you
well.
have to. For sure.
Yeah, you couldn't do it all on day one.
Yeah.
And we weren't buying cases off the shelf or anything like that. The rule of our designs, and that the stepping. It took us 20 years. To get to where we are now. But a lot of the big brands are doing that as well.
No, for sure.
So it's sort of,
it was like, when did Tudor start using their own movements? Like 3 years ago, right? Or something. Very recently, and Panerai very recently as well.
No, definitely. It's a big change, I think.
And then the super nerds, they only care if you make your own movement, and the general audience doesn't even know the difference. They just don't. They couldn't care at all.
But the super nerds are quite vocal.
They are very vocal,
and then
right?
it sort of filters down. So, but you're completely right.
Same with the currency. I mean, you guys will know about the brakes, the engines, but whereas most of the guys on the street don't care.
Man, I spent 20 minutes last show crapping on Toyota for their Supra being a BMW. I mean, then we're talking about Toyota. We're not talking about some little, place in it. I'm not talking about Morgan using BMW engines. I'm talking about Toyota using BMW engines.
I think where we saw that to be a watch brand that was going to properly compete with the big boys and be around here in the next 50, 100 years, we had to do it properly. And luckily we managed to convince some investors to be on our journey with us and not, VCs come in for 3 years and get out. So so it was an incredibly difficult pitch, but from day one we said this is what we were going to do, and a lot of people, they don't believe you, they think it's just marketing, etc. But you come to Henley now,
but
you
now
see
you have
it
a
all,
factory,
and it's exciting. It's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. The best thing is you come and literally kick the tires and see what's going on.
Yeah, the photos remind me of the MTC. It reminds me of the McLaren Technical Center. Is that intentional?
To be fair, I think if you're designing a modern factory and not to be inspired by what McLaren did there, then you'll be sort of semi-lying, because the glass, the space, just the way it's been organised is quite incredible. And obviously we want light, we want an eco-efficient building. If you're building a factory in the last 5 years, you're silly not to think of those things. So it's got.
Well, it's interesting how watch manufacturers, when they all seem to, like, if you look at Patek or Audemars, their original buildings are these very traditional, and then they go, we've built a new manufacturer, and it's like crazy avant-garde, modernist future. They've got some legendary architect doing it, and it looks like a spiral coming out of the ground or something, some crazy thing. Yeah, see, doesn't that look like the MTC?
Yeah.
It does, right?
It has that sort of feel to it.
The wing.
And
it's the shape of a plane wing-ish, right?
It's a shame. It is, and it's it's 35,000 square feet of watchmaking space. It's all just been designed to build watches. So you've got positive air pressure. You've got in the rooms. It's all very, very clean. It's designed to be able to do tours. So you can have a Formula One car in the reception at the same time. You can, the bar
is have a bar.
It's very, very important.
And I think your point,
just like here,
exactly.
Actually,
we're loving what you've done here. It's brilliant. But I think on your point about everyone coming out with these sort of avant-garde buildings, is you're designing these things for consumers, your customers, to come and see it. Mm-hmm. So we welcome anyone who's interested or bought a watch to come. They can tour around, they can see the watchmakers, they can talk to the machinists, and it's there. And I think the modern age, we want to get closer to the brand we're buying, don't we?
It's true. It's true. I've been to a few different manufacturers on tours, and a couple of them,
I don't even like their watches. But after the tour, I was like, fuck,
I could buy one of these. Yeah.
I went to Ulysse Nardin, and I hate 80% of what they make. And after going on the tour, I was like, oh man, I kind of want to freak now. Like I kind of want to buy one.
But you're buying, it's craftsmanship, isn't it? And you're buying into.
I bought a fur coat from Morgan. Because I was like, I don't need a car, but I'm going to give you money for something up here. A shearling fucking coat. It wasn't fur like chinchilla, but it was a shearling bomber jacket.
Which is really useful for LA.
Yeah. I had visions of you looking like you're in Moscow.
The story of that coat is legendary because it has lived in my closet and gone nowhere. I wore it one time. It was the day I bought it.
Oh, really? But it's got a good story. It's got a good story. And he supported the factory.
And it supports your point, which is that when you go to these places and you meet real people making things and you're connected to it, you just want to give this company money. It's like it just works out that way.
But you do, and it's true. And, you go through around the Aston Martin factory and you go and see them stitching the seats.
The hides,
and the hides. You think, wow, God, and you come out, you're thinking,
can I get a wallet or something?
Or what can I do to mortgage my house and get one of these cars? Because you buy into it, it's suddenly quite interesting, isn't it?
And I think that's, and rightly so, it should have that effect. If you're a manufacturer, you're investing in that skill set. Not everyone's doing that, and it is the massive differential.
But also the people buying, they're interested in the same thing. They love the reason. Why do you buy a lovely mechanical watch or a lovely car? Is because you're probably
you're an enthusiast.
Enthusiast about the mechanics and what's gone into it. And I think that's.
And we do a cars and coffee at our wing that people can come along, and we've had various things. Instantly get full because we'll know car guys, watch guys, and they can come be part of it. And if we didn't have this building, you wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff.
Yeah. It's good to have a home base like that. And if you don't have a factory like handy, like Porsche has done a great job with their experience centers.
Yes,
which gives you the same kind of vibe. They've got a workshop there with glass, and you can see them doing something, even though they're not, physically building the cars there.
Yeah, brilliant job.
Yeah, and you guys have some pretty strong, car crossovers. You've got the Jaguar watches, which are very cool.
Yes.
You've got this Williams tie-in now, which is incredible.
Yes.
What is that like? How do we go from now we're making watches in England. Now we've got this new factory. I know. Let's sponsor a Formula One team.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, I think we're
actually tell about the Jaguar first, though, how that started, because it gives you an idea.
I'll do Jag, and then you can do Williams. So Jaguar, we started as a friendship, really, built up with, you'll know, a very well-known car designer called Ian Callum.
Yes.
So Ian obviously came from Aston Martin.
One of the great people to have drinks with at Pebble Beach.
Isn't he?
He is
the nicest guy.
He is one of the nicest.
You get a couple in him and the stories just start flowing.
And he's such a understated, lovely, almost self-deprecating guy. And he obviously came from Aston Martin, where he designed the DB7 and the 9 and Vanquish. And some beautiful cars. Then went to Jaguar. And we got this call one day saying, look, we've got this project. It's for our 75th anniversary. Will you come in and have a look? And Giles and I went along. Didn't know what to expect. Turn up, and there's their design room. And on one wall were just pictures of the Bremont MB watch. And they're trying to design the new console for the CX-75, which was...
that was the turbine.
The turbine.
Yeah.
Very cool car.
A version they used in that Spectre film, wasn't it, the baddie? So
they should have built that. That thing ruled.
It's such a shame.
The Spiker got pretty close to what the CX-75 looked like, but I would have liked to see it from
Jag.
It
been fantastic.
Yeah.
So we
look at that thing.
So
actually, the Maserati that Johnny was driving this morning is not far off.
Yeah.
The MC20 is kind of close.
But it still looks so modern.
But that
looks great, doesn't it?
That was many years ago. So that was 10, 12 years ago. So they came to us and said, look,
2015. Wow.
So inside, we ended up, long story short, we helped them with some of the interior, in terms of the dash and things. But inside this very high tech car was this clock. Mechanical clock which you could remove, put on the desk, or put back in your car.
Was there a wristwatch housing for it, or was it too big for that?
No, it was designed to sit on your desk clock, and it was going to automatically rotate and wind itself up.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Had a little winder stand on it. Oh, that's neat.
So it was a brilliant little project to do.
So that was really nice. And it went on. We ended up doing clocks for the Royal Jaguars, and then we had, like, for example, the continuation projects for the lightweight E-Type, and then the D-Type, and then we've done more recently, the C-Type.
But your point, we probably worked with them for about 5 years before we even did a watch with them.
So were you doing gauges, dash clocks for those, or a pairing of a desktop clock?
So for the lightweight
continuation
E-Type, for example, when that first came out, they did a continuation project. So you could buy, as effectively an original. Depends how you define original.
The lost VIN number.
The lost VIN number. No. It's how you defined it. Still built at the same factory by Jaguar employees, but however many years later.
I can't wait 50 years. Lamborghini's going to build the lost Aventadors from the ones that went down on the boat.
Your counter, you're suddenly going to see value. So it was a nice project. But with this watch, we used the same VIN number and we put them in the serial number in the watch, and it was a matching watch, beautiful made watch, which we designed with Ian. So it was a genuinely wonderful project to be involved with, and those guys are just they're really passionate guys, aren't they, when it comes to
I think
design?
look, we don't want to go and work with a car company or do any project that Nick and I aren't generally passionate about, and
we drive old Jaguars and things, so
we restored one with our dad when we were kids.
Oh, cool.
Still got, and we drove it across America and all that stuff.
What type of Jag?
That was an E-Type.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so we drove 2 old cars across America about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, nice.
About 3,000 or 4,000 miles through everything from Yosemite to Death Valley to around the NASCAR circuit. Yeah.
Oh, wow. They didn't overheat, huh?
Joshua Tree.
No, we changed the radiator for alloy radiator with
Evans coolant.
With the electric fans, you got to have them.
We had to do that.
No, it's still overheated. So we laugh that day one we shipped it from England to New York, and that's where we started. And day one, so Nick was driving E-Type. When I was 21, I got my first job in London and bought myself a 911 a 2.4T. It's 1973, it's the day I was born. I bought that for nothing at the time. So I'd had it, needed to sell it so many times to put the money in, but I managed to hold on to this car. We still have it today. So we shipped that and the E-Type out to New York. Got in, day one, the brakes on the E-Type went in New York.
It's quite hot in New York.
Yeah.
It's quite hot.
So that was day one.
Think about New York as being a hot place, but
and as we went around America, bits kept breaking. And there's one point we were in Graceland in a car park, and we put out on Twitter, does anyone have?
It's some clutch component.
It was something for the clutch. And someone responded, took it off their E-Type, and came and brought it to us.
In Memphis?
In Memphis.
Near Graceland.
Wow.
So that was quite cool, wasn't it?
It was the most amazing. And we joke that Nick's E-Type is now made in America because we had
partially.
to replace it.
48% American parts content.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that. And yours was fine, wasn't it? Yours
absolutely no problem the whole way around.
Graceland's weird, isn't it? What's built up around Graceland? It's really strange,
it's
right?
a whole other world. For an Englishman, it's quite an interesting space.
And you have this vision of this massive house. It's actually quite sweet.
Yeah.
It's like a little cottage.
Well, for 55, it was giant.
Yeah.
For today, it's like 2,800 square feet. It's like not that big.
And we're massive Elvis fans as well. So that's
it's wild. The basement is weird. It's weird as hell down there.
It's
the yellow bar.
A lot of strange decor, but that's what makes it so special, isn't it?
If you ever didn't believe that Elvis liked drugs, set foot in that basement.
It's so true.
This is someone who likes, uses, and is very enthusiastic about their drugs.
And here is a television with a gun they shot through it.
They put a hole through it.
Yeah, he liked to shoot stuff.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough.
They got that Di Tommaso Pantera over at the Peterson Museum that he shot a hole in the dash.
Oh, is that what he did? He shoot that as well?
It wouldn't start, and he shot a hole in the dash. Yeah.
So the TV, the car, is sort of...
He had some weird watch taste as well, didn't he?
I think he had one of those weird Hamiltons, right?
The
triangle-shaped thing.
Which are quite cool, but they're quite
very
unique,
mod,
very unique.
right?
Yeah, quite Star Trek, weren't they?
Yeah, it was like the Star Trek communicator. Yeah. Hamilton Ventura. Yeah, that thing. It's like the Star Trek communicator. Wow, are those things really $2,000? Oh. All right, you get it, Hamilton. Good for you.
There you go.
So Williams, though, I mean, that's kind of a big deal, isn't it?
So it was good. So we obviously worked on the motorsport with Jaguar for a long time, and then Williams had just been bought, and actually they are only about half an hour from where we're based. So they're an Oxfordshire-based company as well as us. and they had a new team in there, and we spoke to them, and we're a tiny brand in the compared with the big boys, but our conversation with them wasn't just about slapping a logo on the side of a car. It was, they were operating the same machines as us in many places. So we've done this whole sort of technical skill set.
Is it literally the same machine to build an
A
F1?
couple of them are. For some of the parts.
The big parts, not obviously the movement parts. So suddenly we had this really interesting technical discussion about how we can have apprenticeships, young guys who start with us can go and spend time with Williams and vice versa. They have experience of machining carbon and that we don't have, and vice versa. We can machine components to. We've got a lot of ex-Formula 1 guys who work for us, and they join, and they're brilliant machinists, but they have no experience machining to the tolerances that we need. So we have to sort of train them up. So it suddenly became this sort of symbiotic relationship, and we saw them as being a team on the up. They've got a long way to go, obviously, at the bottom at the moment.
But also, we've always loved Formula 1.
Yeah.
It's not a hard sway. It wasn't a difficult conversation because I think it'd be interesting to know what your view is. If you've grown up probably outside of America, Formula 1's huge.
Yeah.
And it's such, Giles lives in Silverstone, I've got to say. It's a very big thing. So to have someone like Williams, which arguably one of the top 3 iconic Formula 1 teams of all time in terms of wins, and Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill, these incredible drivers, then for Williams to call you up and say, would you like to do something, it's a no-brainer. But I'd love to know what it means to you guys in America.
Well, for me, it's the equivalent is like having Road and Track magazine say, we'd like you to write a supercar review for us. To me, it's like I grew up reading that magazine, so it's like, wait, I get to be the guy? Like, yeah. So it's, I didn't know much about Formula 1 until the dominance of Michael Schumacher, really. They wrote about it in the magazines, but they really weren't airing it on TV in a way that was convenient
India,
for us.
NASCAR and stuff over here, isn't it? What's the big ones?
NASCAR is the dominant motorsport. Indy's had waves.
Ups and downs, yeah.
People care about the 500, and that's really it. It's not like people are sitting around watching IndyCar when it's not the Indy 500.
Yeah.
It's weird that they care so much about that one race and then not at all.
I think it's our longest running race, and it's the speeds are insane.
It is our longest running
It's like NASCAR
continuous.
with 240 miles an hour, so it's NASCAR with fighter jets.
Yeah.
I feel like Indy's having a little bit of a resurgence, but they're also trying to make a show like Drive to Survive. We spoke about this before in the Cathedral. America loves the drama, right? So you make F1 into a drama show, and then we will get more invested, and then you'll get new fans who then are, and this worked for me. I respected F1, but it was always hard to catch on TV. Time zones, and where's it going to air, and not having whatever subscription. And it also just seemed like an unobtainable world. So I was less interested. I couldn't relate to the cars the way I could like touring car or Continental or something. But watching Drive to Survive, I know more about it.
So now
I give a shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I like documentaries more than I like documentaries about sports more than I like the actual sport in many cases.
Which is what Drive to Survive is really done.
They've done a great job. And even before that, on ESPN, we have these things called 30 for 30s, which are mini sports documentaries. They're half an hour to an hour long. And I found those more interesting than any of the sports that they are based on. But that's just me personally. But in America, we never had F1 pushed on us the way that we had NASCAR and other sports. So it's only now that we have the internet. First it was DVR. Now you can DVR it at 3 a.m. and watch it when you want to watch it. Then it was social media where people were live blogging it and whatever. And now you've got the stories being told that make a huge difference. Mm-hmm. I liked the documentaries like Senna.
Senna,
Like
brilliant,
when
isn't
I
it?
really got
Yeah.
into Formula One when I interviewed Asif Kapadia and about Senna and watched that, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on?
Wasn't
over
it?
here?
Wasn't amazing?
It was amazing.
Amazing
And the other one, the documentary One, the number one.
Yeah.
Oh, God, with all
that's
the crash and
great.
safety.
Fucking
and-
incredible. I mean, incredible
Yeah.
documentary.
And then there's
so-
been a couple of good films like The Rush,
Yeah.
and then so there's.
And I think without doubt they've done a brilliant job in remarketing it as to a new
Is that,
audience.
as Liberty Media, is
Yeah.
that what
Liberty
they're called?
Mar-
Liberty
yeah.
Marketing, Liberty Media, Liberty something or other.
Yeah.
And they've changed the angles of how they film it. They've changed what the overlays look like, and they've done
put
a
a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And it's when my daughter comes back from school and all her friends are into Formula One now, that just wouldn't have happened 5
Yeah.
years ago. And it's just it's
Why? Because the
amazing.
drivers are hot.
They like
So they like
the
the drivers.
drivers.
Yeah.
And they're all
Well, and
good-looking
the
boys, aren't they?
drivers themselves have social media that
And you
that
can
makes
follow
them more accessible, so you can see what they're doing off the track, where they're traveling, what they're
Yeah.
wearing, what they're driving, all that kind of their dogs.
So what do you think the Vegas that's going to be like?
It's gonna be awesome.
It's going to be quite fun.
Vegas is gonna be great.
Did you watch Miami as well?
We didn't watch the race, but I read some wrap ups and whatever. I liked everything except the fake marina. The fake,
I know,
it's kind of
that was so brilliant. That was you can only have got that in Miami, I think.
Only in Miami would you have a fake marina. Like, you're right, you're so close. You were there. And actually, I learned, we talked about it in the last podcast, I figured those yachts were manufacturer demos or something like that. No. Private yachts.
Were they?
That people paid to have.
No, they
truck-
didn't.
and-
You didn't?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Private yachts.
It was quite a good corner, quite a good vantage point, though, wasn't it?
I mean, you think that's in Miami. What are they going to do in Vegas? That's the.
I know,
yeah.
actually.
They'll
that's-
put fucking yachts on the strip
They'll
in
put
Vegas.
yachts.
You know that yacht we had.
They'll park a Gulfstream on the
They
strip. I'm going to
will.
watch it from my jet. Thank you very
You'll be
much.
going around the Eiffel Tower. You'll be coming back through. I mean, it's going to be hilarious.
It's going to be cool.
It's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Vegas will
But
be
how fantastic it is now! Then you'll have three races in,
Yeah.
in North America. I mean,
Yeah.
in America, and then you've got Canada as well, obviously. So
and we were discussing this last show. I think the fact that you have them in a city, even versus Austin, which is like 30 miles outside of the city,
Yeah.
it makes it so much more accessible for
Yeah, no,
people
it does.
to watch it, new audiences to get exposed to it.
the tracks. Yeah, I mean it's
Even if the tracks aren't great.
Yeah, exactly. So you just got to. But I thought actually Miami did quite a good job with the track.
Yeah, but I
Going
mean,
around through the people's car parks. And
but with our little sort of insight that we get from working with Williams, it's just the behind the scenes. The technical developments that these guys do is just incredible.
Yeah, even for a kind of a lower level team in terms of budget, it's still like
well,
astronomical.
they're all capped
right?
now. So now most of the teams have the same budget, which is great. So they brought this cap in because if you're a Mercedes, you're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions. And then the lower teams were pretty confined to a couple $100 million.
So do you think they're all spending the same?
Well,
now?
they have to now.
They have to, but there are
Well, can
slight
the lower
ways.
teams even get to the maximum?
No, they
Well, that's the problem. And if you're Ferrari and you're running two teams effectively with a Haas, and then suddenly it's
Right.
You're probably sharing a few
you can
costs here
share
and there.
some. Well, we'll probably get sued for whatever we say, but there are ways probably ways around it. But it's I think just as a pure technical component, the new car, the only thing. There's only one component they've got from last year's car. This is something like 18,000 new components.
It's
in the
crazy
car.
It's a
how-
huge development process.
And
Yeah.
that's the Halo, because all the Halos were made in Ukraine.
Oh,
So
yes. We
the-
cannot get you new Halo.
Yeah.
You must reuse old Halo.
You need your help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Ukraine has. It turns out some really interesting things are made there.
You
Wiring
suddenly
looms
realise a lot of the
and,
like sort of wiring looms for cars and things, aren't they?
Yeah.
Porsche had to
VW,
figure
yeah.
out where to get
So where
wiring.
are they getting them made now? I guess.
I don't know, but they have figured it out because they have
they had to.
restarted production. Yeah, so I don't know where they're doing it.
God, that must. Can you imagine the stress there?
Also,
trying to-
ceramic brakes come from the Ukraine.
Do they?
So
Yeah.
it's obviously quite an industrious country,
Yeah.
and you don't really realise that.
Yeah,
do you?
no,
It's
yeah,
it's
all
quite
kinds of
interesting.
precious metals for stuff. Yeah, do you guys have watch components or raw
No,
materials?
no,
from
no.
We're
Ukraine?
lucky. We don't. The only way we're getting affected, we got a store in Shanghai at the moment, which is not the best store to have.
No, that's
Stay away from that. But no, actually, and this is the brilliant thing about building stuff yourself. It's in your factory. You've got complete control over it, and it's incredibly complex, this manufacturing process, because you outsource a component, you lose all the drawings for manufacturing because they'll be manufacturing that on a different machine to someone else. So no two components are really ever the same unless you have complete control on that. And that, or we found that, and it's.
But it's still a big supply chain. We make a lot, but you're still dependent on some suppliers. And and I think the whole global economy, it doesn't matter what industry, and supply chains have gone from, it might have been 6 months. If it was 6 months, it's probably 9 or 12 now at least. And then when it does turn up, you probably haven't, because so much has been affected on shipping and COVID, and it's just had a massive impact.
What's in terms of mechanical stuff? Like, what could be harder to make than a watch? Like,
I think you get defense. I think is probably about the only time you start really pushing the boundaries.
Maybe, but the thing about pieces are so small. Like, I had a watch repaired recently at this. Shout out to Marina Bay Watch Company. I love these guys. They're great.
Yeah.
Good old Jews over there. And I had them, I broke a watch, and this guy, they repaired it for me, and they gave me this little baggie. Then goes, "Here, your broken part is in this." And I go, "This is an empty bag, sir." And he goes, "Look harder." And I look hard, and there's just a tiny little fucking thing. It's like a wire. And I thought the guy was like fucking with me. And like that is the part that's broken. That like I couldn't. I'm always surprised at that kind of thing, and how many components you get 1,000 components in a grand complication or something.
Well, that's the big deal. We were talking about it earlier. The big difference between, say, like a watch and a car.
Yeah.
And a car, you could buy a supercar, and you might be driving it as fast as you possibly can, up mountain passes and across, incredible roads. And you might be driving it only at 90. You might be driving, the ability of the car might be sort of running at 98% or even 90% of its capacity because something's not quite working. You'd never know. Most people would never know. Problem with a watch, it's very obvious if it's not telling the time.
Yeah.
And we only make chronometers, we only make mechanical watches. So if it's within a few seconds off a day, people are going, "Excuse me, I've had this being matched against atomic clock and it's not quite."
And I always say there's 86,400 seconds in a day, and a mechanical watch, when it leaves us, will be within 3 or 4 seconds accurate. So it's the most accurate mechanical device on the planet is a mechanical watch. And there's no electronics. This is just cogs and gears
and
ticking away.
And it's not sitting in the mantelpiece, is it?
And it's being used, it's being bashed. It really is incredible. And that watch will work in 200 years' time.
Yeah.
If it's serviced and looked after.
Yeah. And if it's broken, you can fix it. But
I had a watch that only has to be set once every 300 years. An IWC perpetual calendar that you don't. If you keep it going, it's.
Have you kept it going?
I did for the 2 years I had it. I sold it, but I did for the whole time because I was so afraid.
I'm trying to reset.
The thing. Yeah. I'd have to take it in to have it reset. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's a watch winder.
But they send you a little thing that's a new first 2 digits of the year, because it only goes to like 20, 21, 22, and then they send you the one that's 23 and 24, so it can go until the year 2500. It's like,
is that what they do?
It's not necessary.
That's hilarious.
But it's pretty presumptuous and good. But is it? I can't think of anything, which is one of the things I appreciate so much about watches, that has to do such a, in theory, straightforward job, but to such a high degree of precision. And like such a low degree of acceptance from people. If it's off by a minute or two a week, people get really pissed.
They do, especially when it's mechanical.
Yeah.
A lot of people are wearing smart watches, a lot of people are wearing quartz watches. That's a whole different thing. But to have a mechanical device ticking away, and as Giles said, it might be on a motorbike, you might be on climbing Everest. But if these things aren't keeping good time, it's very, very obvious. So
and when we started off, we sort of always had these sort of 3 pillars of what Bremont's about. And first one is sort of British engineering, as much as we do in the UK, working with other British companies, whether it's a Rolls-Royce Aerospace or Jaguar or Williams, people like that. The
Martin Baker, that's pretty cool.
Martin Baker.
Ejection seat watch,
you're
that's
talking about
pretty
good
awesome.
Technology. That is another example of incredible mechanical technology.
Amazing.
An ejection seat?
They've saved 7,600 lives today.
Never had one fail in its when it's been operating in the right position. But it's
an MB2 or an ejection seat?
Ejection seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ejection seat. So and working with them, and when we made a watch that you can only get if you're ejectee. You've been, if you ever see one of those with a red barrel, it means that guy's been ejected.
Whoa.
It's a brilliant.
It's a nice watch. It's a good watch. But heavily shock resistant.
We designed it so it has this full vibration mount technology and Faraday cage. So you can make the watch stronger by making it bigger and chunkier, but it's actually quite a thin watch as well. And really that took us in this direction. We obviously we had the aviation as our background, but this military side. So military is about 20% of our business.
Oh, is it?
So making for pilots, and we talk about smartwatches.
The collectors love that shit too. The military watches, they
love
amazing. That shit.
Cosplay.
Yeah.
But we do it in quite a,
especially in America.
But we do it in quite a different way. So it's a lot of its work started with Martin Baker, but then led to land-based, sea-based, all around the world, air-based sort of squadrons. So probably 400 or 500 different military units now. Some of them several times have been done. But also things that we're very proud of are things like we're the preferred supplier to Her Majesty's Armed Forces. So you suddenly work with the government. They're saying, actually, we want to design a watch with you. That's quite cool.
That's
pretty cool.
That's quite cool as a watch brand.
Yeah.
And then we've got things like our Armed Forces Covenant, where we try and, for example, employ ex-military people if we can. And so there's a lovely, lovely synergy, and we're incredibly proud.
Does the government know what they want when they say we'd like to design a watch?
Well, like this watch you got there,
is that
for
the
example.
Argonaut?
No, so this one, for example, this is called the broadsword. But back in the 40s, the British government went out to tender. And so if you've got any watch collectors listening,
We definitely do.
One quite nice sort of range of watches to start collecting. I think it's called a Dirty Dozen. And the Dirty Dozen, they're cool because the British government went out to 12 different watch brands because no one watch brand could make enough. So, the Seamers, the Amigas, the IWCs, the Smiths. Anyway, went on and on. And there were 12 different brands. And they put a spec out for the watch. And they all look very, very similar because they're all based on, you've got the sub-second hand like that. You've got had to have specific, luminosity.
Fairly simple field watch.
Simple field watch.
Yeah.
So this is like the contemporary modern version of that.
That's cool, yeah.
But the back to the smartwatches, if you're in the military, there are a number of times you're not allowed to wear a smartwatch because it'd be hacked.
Yeah.
So any military briefings, anything. And these pilots, they sort of, you're flying an F-18 for 7 years of your life. That watch says you flew that F-18 and you give it to your son, your grandson. They become these amazing sort of pieces to pass
the pilots
down the family.
don't need that mechanical watch anymore, but it's still a GPS, tradition.
Yeah, but it's amazing how many of them, as you say, because you can't wear the smartwatch, you're still wearing them in the cockpit. So, and we've had a very different sort of outlook than a lot of brands in terms of to get one of the watches. So you might come to us and say, look, I'm a squadron leader in an F-35 squadron. I've got 50 of our pilots wanting to get a watch. You'll have to show that each pilot actually is what they say they are, rather than just send them 50 watches and hope they all go to somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's a real accountability there. And
I have a Royal Navy clearance diver, deep sea.
Do you?
I do.
I actually have two of them. I have a sequential pair of them that I got from the diver. Yeah.
So we do those as well.
Yeah.
Those guys.
It's got the seal on the back and everything. I got the guy's dive log. I've got a.
Oh, when did you get that?
2019, 20. Yeah, I got the pair. It was the only diver to buy two of them, and I got both. It was pretty. They're pretty G. Yeah, they're pretty fucking cool. Yeah, individually numbered, they're pretty badass. The seal is really cool. Yeah, it's neat. The guy's dive log is intense.
They're quite full on, those guys, aren't they?
This guy has done like the log was like this thick and full.
And he gave you the whole thing.
I don't have the original. I have a high-res scan book of the whole thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, my watch people said that even in the high-level collecting circles, the high-res scan is good enough. They don't expect them
and also,
to give
who's going to want to give away their whole log of their life?
Well, that's what the guy said. He said,
"This is my life." Yeah.
I said, "I want the log," and he was like, I can't." And I was like, "Well, let's work something out." And
I want your history.
And there's a few blacked out. There's some blacked out
redacted
in there as
stuff.
well. Yeah, some redacted. That I guess he couldn't,
in the Maldives with his mistress.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I didn't ask any questions, but it's cool. It's cool.
And it's brilliant. We do a lot of those guys now. So and it's something we're really proud of.
What is your deepest watch?
2,000 meters.
2,000 meters.
Yeah.
Do you just test it on a bench, or do you actually strap it to the outside of a sub like James Cameron?
Yeah, that was quite a cool one.
We've got a full testing facility in Henley where we can test them down to that level. It's amazing. You put if you put a 500-meter diving watch, ours 500-meter diving watch will go to about 1,300 meters. But then past about 13, you just see the whole thing crushing. The pressure of water is insane. It's a sort of,
and these sort of red lights flashing as this big pressured vessel. It's quite exciting to watch, actually. So.
That's fun toy.
Really cool.
It is a fun toy.
That is a fun toy.
So if you want to give us any
today.
Oh, I got to bring some stuff to crush.
Bring some stuff to crush.
Yeah, we should start. We got to start taking bets of like, how will
throw
it
some coal in there?
How will it survive?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That would be a very fun toy.
You don't really need a watch that goes to 2,000 meters.
Of course you don't.
And that's be tested to a lot more than that. But it's
cool anyway.
But it becomes
your body would be beyond. Your body would be a little cube this big at that point.
It's bizarre.
You'd be in bad shape.
Well, I suppose a lot of you's water anyway, isn't it? So that's why you can go down as
but the important parts are not gonna fucking make it.
Good point.
Do we have some
We
questions
do.
for him
Just time
before
check
you
for
guys
them.
get out of
It's
here?
3:42.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
no
We'll make sure you guys get here on time to go to the opening at the Bike Shed, which I'm
Yes.
going to tonight.
Are you going to come
the
along?
Bremont Boutique at the Bike Shed, downtown LA.
Everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
It should be
It'll
cool. Have you been there before yet? The bike shop.
I went to the bike.
Yeah,
I went
I
to
was there with Matt.
their opening party. It's neat,
isn't it brilliantly done?
It's really cool. Like they spent a lot of thought, a lot of money. It looks great. The food is great.
The food is great, and
the
it's
store is great.
The decor is fantastic. If anyone's into, it's not just motorbike. If anyone's into just
hanging out
in a
and
cool place.
those custom motorbikes. And if you like cars, you like those custom bikes.
Yeah, they're
don't
cool.
you?
I don't know. I didn't know when they first opened. I was like, are people going to come to this part of downtown as a motorcycle destination? But I follow them on Instagram, and it seems like in the first month that people are in fact going to that part of downtown.
It is beautifully done.
Yeah,
beautifully done.
It's really cool.
So again, if anyone's around tonight, come
they've
along.
really chosen an English breakfast there.
I know.
Can I just say the food actually?
It's better than that. I don't know why they sort of...
It's not a
Nothing's
Yeah.
better than an English
So
breakfast.
it was set up by obviously originally in London, and Charley Boorman was one of our very first ambassadors all those years ago, and he was part of the original investment team within it. And they said they're coming to LA, and we thought, perfect, why don't we launch with them? And we love LA, we love America actually, full stop. But
we had a nice little drive up the mountain this
I
morning.
loved that. That was so much fun.
Turns out we have mountains here. Nick was like, I didn't realize you had mountains here.
Do you know what's the funny thing is when we said to you, do any police come up here? And you went, no, never. As we're driving down,
Police
car shot past us going
really?
the other way. We thought, that's hilarious.
And there was someone crashed at the bottom. Did you go past?
No, I was there.
Yeah.
Who was
It
what
wasn't
type of car?
one of the.
It was not a sports car.
No, it wasn't a sports car.
Oh.
I think they obviously hit quite a few boulders on the.
Oh, really?
Hit a rock or something. And,
Shit.
Yeah.
No, I missed that.
Yeah, luckily we
Must have
did as
gone
well.
down a different
Yeah.
way. Yeah. No, it definitely happens. It's
What an amazing place to go and drive. You're so lucky to have
You
it.
guys are so lucky living here. I mean, it's just the most incredible city in that respect, where you can be 20 miles out and you're in that.
And you're in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, the weather.
That's one of many too.
The weather could have been slightly better today, couldn't it?
Not at the top.
Not at the top is fantastic.
It was, wasn't
and I really enjoyed driving through those clouds. I thought that was a nice treat for me.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just having the rain. It reminds us a little bit.
No,
of
the cloud water. There was some cloud waterfalls cascading over the peaks that were amazing.
I love that.
It was really,
It's a very
really
special
good.
thing.
Yeah, it was fucking good.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's see what the people have to say off our Patreon.
Got a few bike questions.
Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. You guys into bikes?
We've got a few motorbikes.
All right. Well, we can do
GS.
some bike ones. Did you see the GS downstairs? That 850 GS I'm riding this week. That's a lovely bike.
Yeah.
Jake says, would you say there's a wrong displacement bike to start with? I'm looking at getting a CB650 as my first, but been advised that beginners should start with a 500 or smaller. Thoughts? I mean, a CB650 is not like that fast, is it?
I don't think there'll be a huge difference between that and the 500 with that. If you,
I mean, look, it depends on what type of person you are.
Yeah.
If you were the type of person that will ride whatever you're given as fast as it will possibly go,
then you can hurt yourself.
then restrain yourself at the dealership.
That throttle.
If you're the type of person that is comfortable using half throttle until you are comfortable, I wouldn't go buy an 1100. I wouldn't go buy a super bike. I wouldn't go buy a Ducati. But like, if you're a big dude like me, don't buy a 500 because it'll be really slow.
Yeah.
But if you're a little person, and I don't mean that, I mean if you're on the smaller side, maybe get a little smaller bike.
And I think if you're semi-capable, 650 will be fine. I think.
Yeah.
A CB650 is not a crazy fast bike. You'll be okay.
You'll be good.
I think you'd be okay. It's not like you're asking to get a 1200 and you can get 650.
I like the
fine.
next question.
Christopher Goebel says, are BMW motorcycles really as good as everyone says they are? I want an R1250 RS but feel hesitant because BMW. Well, I don't. So BMW Motorrad and BMW cars are mostly separate companies,
Yeah.
right? What has your experience been owning a GS?
So I did my first big trip on it. I was actually with Charley and went down through Africa. So we did Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa. So we did a long distance.
Yeah.
And that bike was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't think many other brands would have put up with going at literally 90 miles an hour over small boulders and things like that.
Beautifully made. They
Beautifully
really
made, and you feel so secure. And I came back and I had Nortons, BSAs, and different bikes, Triumphs, and I've gone back to a GS because I've got a 1200 GS Adventure, and they are phenomenal. And I don't think
They're
if you
big
talk to any
bikes.
biker, even at the bike shed, in terms of technology and comfort and everything else, I think they're just phenomenal bikes.
Yeah, the adventure touring bike category is really competitive right now. Everyone's got a good one. The Ducati is the Multistrada is awesome. Even Harley Davidson has this Pan America one now, which is really, really cool.
We saw the Enfield one yesterday.
I rode it. Oh yeah, Enfield's got one. I actually rode an Enfield demo bike. It was pretty fun. I mean, it wasn't quite a Triumph Bonneville, but it was literally half the
But if you
price.
go to India, what a great place to
They're selling them here though now, and it makes a cool sound. It does have a very neat sound. It sounds like old World War II shit.
And you can get it mended. And if something breaks, you can get it mended.
Yeah,
by the side of the road.
But I think BMW makes the best motorcycles in the world.
I do.
I mean, the GS is just
once you've gone on
it's
it,
the gold standard of
you never go back.
everything.
Do you?
Yeah,
They say,
and this 850 I've got.
What's that like?
I mean, it's like the 1200, but it's a little bit lighter. It's a little less powerful, but the engine revs a little faster. I think it's powerful enough. I mean, I don't ride it and be like, oh, I need the 1200. Like, I don't. I think it's fine. And it's the parallel twin, which when they had the 750, it sounded a bit like a sewing machine.
Yeah,
this one sounds a little better.
Yeah,
I can fire it up if you want to hear it before you leave.
Yeah,
but it's a lovely bike.
So,
this is an interesting question, and actually, I think a lot of people ask about stuff like this. Matt says, do I need to worry about riding a motorcycle and the vibration it causes with an automatic watch?
not with the MB. Charles, you want to answer that? I mean, I think the worst thing, funny enough,
what is the worst activities you can do with a mechanical watch?
Probably off-road bicycling, not motorcycling, but
like mountain
cycling.
biking.
Because
no suspension, is there? So
there's very little
goes
suspension. With a modern motorcycle, the suspension is amazing. It takes so much out of it. But if you're off-road, I've worn mechanical watches. Charley and Ewan wore them for 4 months non-stop, and they were fine. But, I mean, it's...
Yeah, no, that golf can be...
Golf? The circular swinging motion?
You're just swinging your rotor on an automatic watch, and it's just putting quite a lot of pressure on it.
Manual wind mechanicals are great for that.
Yeah. So that's better on that. But I'm...
I've heard guns can be a thing if you're shooting. I don't give a fuck. I wear automatic watches while skeet shooting a 500 clays, and I've never had an issue ever.
I don't think there's any problem.
Yeah.
And we shoot a lot.
But cycling off-road is probably, and with a bike with very little suspension, is probably the worst.
So if you're really doing heavy shock, that's pretty
heavy
much
shock is
it.
the worst for a watch.
Yeah. And then just go with a manual wind, and you don't have a rotor, and that's less of an issue.
There's a lot of it saved there, and that's what the Martin Baker was designed for. It went through 40 years worth of vibration testing with on their rigs for the ejection seats.
That's cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
But I think more people actually damage their watch, taking it off the wrist and dropping it on the floor.
Of course.
Anything else.
Yeah, the smart, the
wrist.
dumbest thing you can do is put your strap your watch on
the
while
bathroom
standing
floor.
on the bathroom
Yeah.
fucking floor. The
Honestly,
marble
the
or the
amount of
tile.
times.
Stand on the carpet.
I know.
Move over to the carpet.
Or above your bed or something. That's so true.
I've done that
Yeah.
shit. It sucks.
So keep it on your
It
wrist.
sucks.
Well,
Yeah. Aiden says, I just sold my vintage Yamaha XS650 looking to get something a little more modern. Best bang for your buck modern motorcycle that gives a similar naked bike experience. I love the Suzuki SV650. I think it's a great bike. They make an awesome bike. The Ducati Scrambler is a really fun bike.
Good looking bike as well.
Good
yeah.
looking, very customizable. XS650 is kind of like that universal Japanese motorcycle style.
Some of the modern Triumphs are great as
Bonneville,
well.
Bonneville's great.
And they're sensibly priced. And,
Yeah.
They
work.
They're good bikes.
Yeah.
So I love the Triumph Scrambler.
What's the Scrambler's badass? Is
Yeah.
that an 800? I think it's a 7.
They do different. They do
790 or 800, something like
900s.
that.
They do
Yeah.
bigger, don't they?
Yeah. Solitary Hero. Is it fiscally responsible to go $17K into credit card debt, for an as-new 1999 Rolex GMT Master Coke with box and papers? No. I would not do
No.
that.
I just don't know. So it's incredible, the Rolex. It's the whole market is, you get something that looks identical.
Yeah.
You've got to know what you're buying with Rolex. And
Yeah.
actually, my advice would be talk to someone who really knows what they're talking about, because the smallest difference will make a huge difference in
Yeah.
value. In terms of, it might be letter spacing, it might be the year, it might be has the bezel been replaced or not. And we've got a few friends, Rolex experts, and
With vintage stuff, it's really easy to fake it.
You-
now,
and
too.
you can really
It's
mess it up.
incredibly easy
Yeah.
to fake this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd say get a bit of advice or talk to someone who does know, and then
Not the guy selling it to you.
I've seen a place, the Barrett Jackson auctions, the car auctions
Yes,
in
yeah,
Scottsdale. They have a whole side show over there where they're selling massage chairs and boats and boots and paintings and watches and all kinds of shit. And there was a guy who had a whole case of fake ghosted bezels for Rolex.
no.
Just pop that shit right in,
Go
and
to your
you've
local
got your
watchmaker,
ghosted
put it-
bezel sub. And
or
then,
your
And-
Paul Newman or something.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
And it's incredibly difficult. I mean, even
Yeah.
as a watch guy, watchman, you take it apart. I mean, how do you
I don't
know?
know.
And these all things were changed around in the
I-
day.
So
and
I had my advice: anything that's worth money, talk to someone who knows.
And don't forget that what you're hoping for, Solitary Hero, is that the watch appreciates faster than your credit card interest cranks up.
Yeah.
But what's the interest on your $17,000?
and also, they made a lot of these.
Yeah.
This isn't like buying a car when they only made 250.
Or a Purdy
of them,
gun or
and
something. When
it's-
you know
Yeah.
it's 60 a year. This
Yeah.
is they make a million watches a year.
yeah. And right now this market shortage from them is completely intentional.
Of course it is.
It's not like anyone else is having this problem. Go to the IWC store. The place is overflowing with watches.
No, of course.
It's because they want to. That's why it's happening. And so they can turn the tap back on whenever they feel like, cashing in. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't go into debt for a watch,
No,
period.
especially
I mean,
this time.
you got to
as
buy
well.
a car to get to work. Go into debt, fine, but it's a watch, man. Just buy a cheaper watch.
Yeah.
There's cheap investment grade watches.
No, there are. I was
you
going to say,
can
like the
get cool
Dirty Dozen
stuff.
one, you can buy them for $2,000, which is a good collector's
New
watch.
or used,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
get a collectible watch for a much more
Yeah, yeah.
affordable price. I mean, you can get a vintage Seiko,
Yeah, yeah.
for under $1,000. It'll be very cool. Watch
Yeah.
people will be into it.
Totally.
Gerardo, last question. What was everyone's taproot watch? Do you know the term? Our friend
what's that?
Spike uses the term. It's the one that got you into the thing.
Oh,
you
so
have a-
taproot,
a
not
watch-
a Grail watch, but the watch
Yeah,
that
the one
got
that
you in.
that
Yeah.
got you into it. Do you
I
guys?
like that
do you have
expression.
one?
So I've got my dad gave me my grandpa's old Amiga.
Oh, cool.
When I was just went off to university, and my grandpa had it. He was at D-Day. He was on the hospital ship and had
wow.
this watch, and that
He
sort
invented
of
the
just-
ventilator, actually, our grandfather.
Yeah.
Fuck outta here, really?
Yeah, so he's a
Yeah.
cool guy.
Wow.
Surgeon. Yeah.
And yeah, I've still got this watch today with his initials, and just having that.
Do you ever wear it, or is it so small it's
It's
not
quite
even?
small. He's going to break it, and I can't really go around wearing other people's watches when we've got a Bremont one. It's,
I understand. Yeah.
No, and that's my only. Some of those vintage watches that just look wrong sized, but it really sort of got me thinking, and yeah, I love that actually.
That's very cool. What about you, Nick?
Well, there's two watches. I mean, it's funny. There's two different kinds. One is the one that probably means most sentimental to me is the which sort of really got to sort of lovers. The watch my father's wearing, which is a Seamaster Amiga when he died in the plane. So we've got that. I'll obviously never do anything with that. But do you remember that watch I had? I bought this watch because Giles and I were always buying watches as kids.
Really
And I bought this really
ones.
quite cool diving watch, which you could pop out the main sort of hub of it, and you could change the strap over.
It's so
I
cool at
can't
the time.
even. It was so cool, but I can't for the life of me remember the brand. But it was down to 200 meters, and we're not
four straps, all different colours.
Oh, yeah.
and we're not watch
Like
snobs.
a Doxa or something
It
like
was that sort of thing, but
Yeah.
we're not watch snobs because I think there's no right or wrong with a watch. It's whatever you're into. And for back then, it all depends on your budget, doesn't it? And,
Yeah.
But this for us, I remember getting that. This is the first one I remember being so incredibly proud of. I might be sort of 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
So that was my probably
Interchangeable straps on your head.
It was very cool. It was very cool.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing. You popped it out, so it's just the hub.
Oh, so it had a housing with
Yeah.
different
yeah.
strap on it?
So the
cool.
bezel
Yeah.
was all separate as well.
Oh,
That's quite
yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's kinda neat.
But I can't remember for the life of me what brand it was.
Oh, we'll figure it out
when
later,
you're
I'm
a kid,
sure.
all these vivid memories of these watches, you then lost them the week later, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
You got another one, and then
I'm sure there's a few G-Shocks in there
Yeah.
as well. They were quite
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
all those.
I had a bunch of swatches that I lost when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'd
Probably
like to
worth
get
quite a lot of
back.
money now. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, right? Fake.
What was yours?
Fake
What was your
Speedmaster.
watch?
The one that got me.
Separate.
I mean, I had a bar mitzvah as a
Yeah.
good Jewish boy.
Yeah.
And one of my presents was a Tag Heuer Formula One, which was
Oh, yeah.
fairly straightforward. It had a fiberglass
Yes.
bezel. And I remember thinking how amazing
Well, it's
that
a big
was.
thing when you're a kid.
Yeah,
sold
the
a lot
Tag
of- they
Heuer
sold a lot of
it was
those
a
watches.
big deal, and good luck finding another one now. It'd be very tough to find. They were
They're very good at that. Your first mechanical watch.
It
was-
looked kind of like
Yeah.
that one with the white
White
dial
dial,
there,
a lot
but
of
it,
people
it
had
had a
that.
blue dial,
Yeah.
but it looked kind of like that. Yeah, 1990. Yeah, that's about right. Wow, $1,100. That's more than it was new.
yeah.
And then when I moved to California to start the Smoking Tire, my dad gave me a Kermit Submariner, the green bezel anniversary,
lovely. Yeah.
and that was my only watch for about 10 years, and I really wore it out in the desert and in the ocean, and it's got a great fade going on. It's still
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
And a
they've
history.
done some.
and a good history. It's
you,
yeah, never
that's
never ever sell it.
Yeah.
It's that, and now I've got a bunch of different stuff that I like. But thank you guys for coming. It's just so nice to hang out with you this morning up on the hill, and the show is a little shorter than normal because I got fucked at the post office, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, we don't
next
go into
show.
that
I'm
now,
so
yeah.
sorry. Fucking be late with watch people. It's like the worst.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Don't
But we're
worry.
gonna hang out
We'll
tonight
make
at
up
the
for it
bike
later
shed.
At the bike shed.
Yes.
And thank you so much for today.
Oh yeah,
And
for
it was
sure. And I can't
really
wait to
good
come
fun.
see the wing when I do the lap of the UK.
And what a great place you got here.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
It's all
congratulations.
right.
This is like a boy's dream, isn't
Yeah,
it?
if you ever want to ship a car out here to do the West Coast trip, you can just ship it here.
Right.
So,
Deal.
We could have done that with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
no,
that'd
we
be
just nick
next
one of
time.
these in here. That's
Yeah,
Just
right.
I'll borrow that red one.
Borrow
with
the
gold
red
wheels.
one with the
yeah,
gold
yeah.
wheels. Yeah, it's always here. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I like your watches a lot. I like what you're doing with Formula One. I like what you're doing with the factory. You just keep every time I see you guys do something new, it's always bigger and better, and you're fun to hang out with as well. So thanks
really
for coming
appreciate
by,
it.
and we'll
Matt,
see you at
thank
the
you very
bike
much.
shed tonight.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I will be back tomorrow. 9 a.m. Batim Barisha, BBI Autosport, campaigning at Pikes Peak this year. He'll be in studio talking about Ken Block's crazy fucking thing. You see that? Ken
Yeah.
Block's crazy car? Yeah, the guy who built it's coming in tomorrow.
Oh,
Batim, he
fantastic.
rules. And that's our show. Happy Friday, everyone. See you later.